once people lose that sense of happiness or perceived happiness, I would call pseudo happiness when you first retire, then they end up starting to try and live their life vicariously through other people who just retire. Welcome to How to Retire on Time, a show that answers your retirement questions. Say goodbye to the oversimplified advice that you've heard hundreds of times. This show is all about the nitty gritty. As always, remember, this is just a show, not financial advice, but you can text your questions to 913-363-1234, and we'll feature them right here. David, what do we got today?
Hey, Mike, when creating a plan, what do you focus on first?
So let me give you the answer that most people would expect me to give.
Okay.
Income. It's what everyone starts with. Well, how do I
Yes.
generate income? And that's a funny thing when you think about it. It's like, okay, well, I've worked, now I want to stop working. So how much income can I generate with reasonable amount of risk, right? And that will be it. And then I'll build my life around that.
Oh, yeah. So this is how much income I have, and so based on that number, that's now what I can do.
Yeah. It feels very, I don't know.
It feels like limiting, right? It's like, I'm tied to this number here.
Well, it assumes that you win by not working. And there's plenty of research out there that suggests that we kind of need to work. We're built to work. Not
Yeah.
necessarily work for a paycheck, but we're built to learn. We're built to grow. We're built to, do things.
Do something.
We're creative people. And if you don't think you're creative, engineer, attorney, people that typically, I'm not a creative type, you're creating solutions. You're
Right.
engaged in critical thought. So when people say, well, what's the process? How do we solve income? How much income can I have? Everyone focuses on income. I would take a very different route. In my planning process, for what it's worth, is it seems like it's just completely backwards.
All right. Unconventional. maybe?
Yeah, like everything else that we do here.
Yeah.
But so the first step in my mind is designing your lifestyle, your purpose. What's going to give you purpose? Let's say work takes up 75% of your time, 70%, whatever you want to use in there. Your work is giving you all sorts of endorphins, or maybe stress. Maybe you hate your job. Fine. A lot of people kind of like their job, at least enough to want to be willing to stick it out a few more years.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people enjoy when they close that deal, when they are going to work with their two teammates, their camaraderie, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at this from a neurological standpoint, your work is providing you three different levels of endorphins or chemicals. Your body produces these. It's serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine. So oxytocin, the happy drug, right? Your body produces oxytocin in just moments of happiness, joy. You're in a good environment. You're making things happen. Serotonin, well, I'm not a neuroscientist, but dopamine's the more common one. Dopamine being the one, you accomplish something and you get that hit dopamine, you
sure.
feel great, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is when you retire, you stop achieving things. You stop putting yourself on the line or having that difficult task. You're losing those friendships from work, or you might not see them as much. And so you get a reduction of serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine. And then you have this emptiness inside. It's not an emptiness of busyness. It's an emptiness of the drugs that make up the sense of purpose.
Uh-huh.
And so many people, after the excitement of the honeymoon years of retirement, the travel and so on, they end up feeling left empty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's that next thing that's going to
Well,
get
so
the reaction, right?
what do you do?
Yeah. What do you do? Garden?
And
I don't know.
well, let's bring that up in just a second.
Okay.
Don't let me forget about gardening or lawn maintenance or those other cliches. But
Yeah.
what typically I see happens is that once people lose that sense of happiness or perceived happiness, I would call pseudo happiness when you first retire, then they end up starting to try and live their life vicariously through other people who just retire. Oh, we've done all those things, but we want to go with you on your trips and your stuff. Well, why? You've already done it. Yeah, but you're going to love it so much, and we want to be there for when you love it.
Mm.
And it's almost like this addiction to that first hit, and we are talking about drugs, I don't think that's an inappropriate analogy. So, why do you design your life by purpose first? It's because how are you going to have a general sense of happiness, joy, and well-being? What's the purpose of retiring if you're going to end up being sad, lonely, and depressed? Even if you're married, you can still feel lonely. So, what is 75% of your time going to be done, or what are you going to do with all that time? There's a vacuum, and it has to be deliberately filled in. For some people, that might be community service. For some people, it might be helping out with the family, but you're not the new babysitter.
Oh, right.
If your family requires you to do something, that might be an imbalance of power. Now you start to resent your family because they're kind of controlling your time. It's basically a job you're not getting paid for.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, I love the grandkids. Yeah, that's fine. But you lost your freedom.
Right.
So
you have to be the one in control. Maybe if you're choosing to be with the grandkids a lot to help out, then fine.
yeah.
But you don't want to be like a hostage.
Yeah. Hey, mom. Hey, dad. Hey, grandma.
Yeah.
Would you come over Friday night so we can go on a date night? Yes.
Yeah.
That's a negotiation. You could say no.
Yeah.
There's a very healthy balance with that. So what's going to give you a sense of purpose? Well, we're not going to get existential here, but if you look at those 3 drugs your body produces, that are healthy drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know dopamine gets hijacked often when you have an addiction, and addictions are very real. We'll use a lighter one, social media addiction.
Yeah.
Each time you're scrolling, you get a subtle hit of dopamine. You're hijacking your brain. So you want to get rid of these sorts of things. But I digress. So how do you create those things? You brought up gardening.
Yeah.
Gardening could be a wonderful activity that gives you purpose, and it could be an absolute waste of time that leads you sad, lonely, and depressed. And the difference is how you approach it.
Okay.
So if you are gardening, just weeding and just keeping it clean because you feel like you need to keep it clean,
No, that's probably
that's no bueno.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you are looking, let's say there's a mosquito problem and you're now doing research to figure out, okay, well, which plants, I'm not an herbologist or a gardener, but I think, what's the fluffy one that kind of, some people think it smells great. It's not dandelions. That's a weed.
Is it a native plant to here? I don't know.
Yeah, they're I forget. Anyway, there's a plant that apparently if you plant it, it reduces the mosquito population. And I think it's rather nice.
Yeah.
I think it smells nice. My wife thinks it smells terrible, but whatever. So you could put those in there, and do you see how you're researching something with a goal in mind?
You have a purpose here.
You're critically thinking, well, if I put them over here, it could solve these issues. You need to be anxiously engaged in something.
Mm-hmm.
And a garden may fill up some of your time. Maybe you garden and you create a small business out of your garden because you are now creating flowers and you sell them at the local farmer's market. Not like because you need the money, but it gives you a sense of, I did this and here was the outcome.
Yeah.
The same as with golf. I've helped many people retire that ended up on the golf course basically drunk, just wasting their life away. I've met other people that said, I've always wanted to take up golf. They got a golfing pro involved. They got lessons. They went out there. They were always trying to see, how can I get one stroke off on this hole, or the back nine, or how can I get 2 strokes off? How can I put a backspin? I mean, I have no idea how to do that, but they're YouTubing, they're learning, they're testing. That challenge that you create allows you to then figure out, let me say it this way: that challenge that you create gives you dopamine when you get that win, a general sense of oxytocin and serotonin because you're progressing in life.
Mm-hmm.
Notice how we've just covered a bunch of things that have nothing to do with finance.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, how you've designed your life, whether that's charity and philanthropic work, maybe it's helping the kids sometimes, maybe it's you get a part-time job, but it's something you really, really like. Defining how you're going to spend your time so that you have an enjoyable, healthy outcome is the first part of it. And then you can back in the numbers and say, okay, well, here's roughly the income that I would need. Now, you don't solve for income yet. What you do is you put together a plan, a general plan with a rough estimated, let's say, estimated tax rate there. Here's your total assets. You're not talking about investments. You're not talking about products. You're just saying, generally speaking, do the projections work out okay?
Mm.
If the answer is yes, then great, you can retire. Everything else is 1 + 1 is 2.
Okay.
And when I say 1 + 1 is 2, it's real simple. Once you have your plan set up, then you've got to break your plan or your assets into 3 categories. You've got your pre-tax category. That's the IRAs, the Roths. You pull money out, all right? You're beginning to tax ordinary income.
Yep.
Then you've got your brokerage account. So it's not subject to ordinary income tax. It's subject to capital gains tax. So you take income out, you're paying long-term capital gains if you held it long enough.
Okay.
And then you've got your after-tax or your tax-free accounts, your Roths, for example, okay? Grows tax-free. There's no capital gains. You pull money out. You're not taxed on ordinary income. It's a good situation.
Mm.
Now that you've divided up the 3 groups, then you run projections on will RMDs, required minimum distributions, be an issue?
Mm.
And if they are an issue, what's your tax strategy look like for spending income, charitable gifting, if you have charitable intent? Because maybe your charitable intent makes it so RMDs aren't an issue.
Yeah. What would make an RMD an issue?
An RMD, in my opinion, is an issue when the required minimum distribution is greater than the income you need in retirement.
So you're being asked by the government, hey, you got to take this income, but you don't really need it because you have income from other places. Like, well, I would prefer to just leave it.
Don't need that much.
Yeah.
I've met people that have $4, $5, $6, $7 million in their IRA, and they're going, "Yeah, I only need like $70,000 a year." Okay, well, how do you solve these problems?
Yeah.
And so it's not just IRA to Roth conversions. It's understanding holistically which tax strategies will you be implementing and how does that shift around? You've got to consider, for example, if you retire at 60 years old, are you going to be aggressive in the IRA to Roth conversions? And if you are, will you do them very aggressively at 60, 61, and 62? And then 63 and 64, you start layering off that because you don't want IRMAA to be an issue. IRMAA is the surcharge. Maybe you're okay with IRMAA being the surcharge. Maybe you're going to take the thirds approach. So every third year you have a larger tax event. So an IRA to Roth conversion because you want to kind of manage IRMAA a little bit. There's all sorts of things that can be done. But notice we're not talking about investments or products.
Yeah.
We have an overarching plan. We know the numbers work out. 1 + 1 is 2. Now we're looking for efficiencies, and we are looking at the tax side first.
Right.
Why is taxes before Social Security? Oh, David, thank you for asking.
I ask great questions on the show. Yeah.
So if you file early, you could be getting in the way of IRA to Roth conversions because there's no RMD on Social Security, right? It's ordinary income.
Yes.
That's taxed at a partial rate, up to 85% of it. So maybe you need to delay your Social Security for your tax planning purposes. Maybe it's not. Maybe you want to file earlier because you want to preserve your portfolio. And maybe not at 62 because there's a drop-off during the ages of 62 and 63. Maybe it's at 64 is the earliest you file because that's kind of your sweet spot.
Okay.
Or maybe it's 67 because you're wanting to max out your benefit, but you don't want to go past that because the spousal benefit doesn't increase past 67 years old or full retirement
Lots of considerations here, it sounds like.
Maybe you want to have one spouse earlier and one spouse later because the higher benefits. So that's when then after you understand your tax planning needs, you then start to do Social Security optimization planning. Yeah, this is like the opposite of what you hear all the time on articles. The income first, tax planning.
Yeah.
And then, then here's your Social Security optimization report. Based on your longevity, you should file here, ignoring all the other ramifications.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like we out in this space, there's a lot of emphasis on, well, you got to hit this number. If you're at least at this number, you're great, or you got to be in this range. But we're sort of not considering that number, it sounds like.
A lot of unintended consequences.
Yeah.
So it's like, you ever put together those massive puzzles? Like 1,000-piece puzzles or 10,000 if we're getting real.
I don't, but they are in my home. My wife likes to do those, yes.
You know how you put together the outside first?
Yeah. There's always like the picture frame.
Yeah. That's like what planning is.
Okay.
You first want to put your constraints together. First
like
off,
that.
does the planning work out? Is 1 + 1 = 2 for you?
Mm-hmm.
Then you figure out your taxes. then you figure out your Social Security, then you figure out your health care.
Oh,
Now, this is interesting. So, with health care, you may want to not take IRA distributions for the first couple of years because maybe there are subsidies. Maybe there aren't subsidies. Maybe there's a reason to be poor. Maybe there's not a reason to look poor on your tax return.
Oh, right.
Will IRMAA be an issue? So healthcare planning is going to be important. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, healthcare after 65 is fairly simple, right? It's Medicare. Am I right on that?
Well, you know better than that.
Yeah.
It's not simple. You've got Medicare, you've got Medigap,
Right.
you've got Advantage plans. That's what's
Yeah.
right for you is what's different for someone else.
That's right.
All sorts of things here. Don't read an article that says everyone should do X, Y, Z. That article is selling you something.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is after 65,
It's easier to plan for.
it's easy because I'm doing Medicare, but then once you get into Medicare, it's like, oh, which one? I have lots of choices. But pre 65, then are you still working? Do you still have some health care through an employer, a COBRA,
Yeah.
Affordable Care Act?
Yeah, it gets more tricky before,
Mm.
for sure. Then once you've figured all of that out, then you can start looking at your income planning.
Uh,
And the reason is based on all of the prerequisites you have, there are some investments and some products that may or may not be suitable for you at that point. So instead of walking in some random office, maybe they took you to a nice steak dinner and told you that annuities are going to save your life,
yeah.
and that thank goodness that you went to this nice steakhouse to be pitched this annuity that you're going to buy, and it's going to pay you some great rate.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about inflation risk. Forget about all these other risks, tax risks, and so on. Guaranteed income for life, which for some people makes sense, some people it doesn't.
Mm.
But based on your tax planning needs, it's really hard to convert, and I'm being facetious here,
Mm.
a guaranteed for life income stream slowly from IRA to Roth. Maybe within 15 years, you want your income to be coming from a Roth. So buying an annuity and then turning on lifetime income may actually get in the way of all of your other objectives. Maybe some buffered ETFs would be more appropriate, at least for the near term. And if you really want the lifetime income, maybe later on you end up buying it because you've done enough conversions at that point. I mean, for everyone listening or watching on YouTube,
Yeah.
I wrote the book, How to Retire on Time, as an argument against the guaranteed lifetime income. I recognize it has its place. I recognize that some people just sleep better at night having some of their assets guaranteed, but it's
Mhm.
not an investment. It's a contract with an insurance company where they're going to give you lifetime payments as long as you live, and the odds are in their favor for it to be financially better for them than you.
Mm-hmm. And that's okay, right? We shouldn't be like angry about that, or should we?
People like to get angry over all sorts of things. No, I mean, are you upset that you didn't die after you bought term life insurance?
Right.
People get angry because they either sold something that wasn't true, so an idea, this thing's going to get you rich.
Mm.
That's not going to happen.
Mm.
Or this thing solves all of your issues. Like there's always a detriment
Mm-hmm.
or many detriments. So, yeah. And then once you've got all of that wrapped up, then you can do estate planning and so on. But that's, in my opinion, the order, the sequence is first figure out what do you want life to look like? A life that's going to give you purpose, activities. And we didn't talk about the romantic relationships. We didn't talk about family. We didn't talk much about family or friends. We didn't talk about fitness, the spiritual side of things. There's so much
Mm-hmm.
that needs to be addressed, which we do talk about in the workbook, the Retire on Time workbook, which you can go to retireontime.com and purchase.
Mm.
But all of these things matter. But yeah, it's design your lifestyle first. Forget about money. What's your lifestyle look like? Then does 1 + 1 = 2? Does the plan work out? Then taxes, then Social Security, then healthcare. Then you can start looking for the right income. And there's over 10 ways. I've got a Kiplinger article on this. Over 10 ways you can take income in retirement. And guess what? They all actually work.
All right. Like
So
that.
they all have their own different unique benefits and detriments, but they all can support a wonderful retirement. The question is, which one's right for you?